And we're live. Welcome to Vlog Thursday, 428. Slight tongue twister there. Not that it actually is a tongue twister.
Welcome to Vlog. Oh, wow. Welcome to Vlog. Forget it. I'm done.
Welcome to Vlog Thursday. That's a different episode.
That's why we started after 5 p.m.
Oh man, that's why we started after 5. The floggings will continue until security improves.
That's terrible. All right. Ollama. What are we talking about Ollama today? You know, it's been something that we mess around with a lot. I put out that quick video yesterday. It was only really scratching the surface. And there's so much more that can be done with it. And I want to talk video cards a little bit. I wanted to know more about the GPU you have that outperforms the one I have. I think what you've got is significantly older, right?
Yeah, because that's a fair place to start. And what I'll do is let's do some screen sharing because people like to see. We got visuals. And that host is down. Let's find a host that's not down. That's always a great place to start. All right. Pull this up. Present. Share the screen.
That's the day's official episode title, Flogging Your GPU with Ollama.
Flogging your GPU. It really is kind of rough on the GPU. We're not going to lie. There's a lot going on there. All right.
Is this one of your local machines?
Yeah, this is one of the local machines. That's why it's got llamas. That lets me know it's a llama. I like that you can put llamas everywhere when you're setting up XCP&G. There's probably a limit to llamas, but at least I can put a few llamas in here. It just really helps you understand things a little better. Like this is definitely the Ollama server. But let's look at the card. That's why I came here because I don't remember exactly what model. I want to be specifically accurate on which model it is. So it is a GeForce GTX 1070. This is not an expensive card. You can find these used all over the place.
How much memory does it have on it?
I think this one's only got 8. Let's go ahead and log into the system and confirm just how much memory this has on it. These are not particularly fancy cards.
Neither is mine, but I think mine's a bit newer than yours.
Yeah. So what do we got here? 8 gigs. 8 gigs of memory. So let's load up an LLM. We'll give it a good afternoon. That's how I spelled afternoon wrong, but we get to watch it load. So it's loading up the LLM. Is this the next GPU killer? It depends. Now with crypto, it's very different than running a locally hosted LLM, depending on the workload. So if you're using crypto, you're mining it constantly. It's running persistently. With this, it runs when I ask questions and it loads when I ask questions. So right now we're using, very little power, very little heat because we're not doing anything. We're just waiting for it to wake up and answer the good morning question I just asked it, or a good afternoon question.
I love that. I was looking at the power usage on my machine when it said idle earlier today, and it wasn't going above 55 watts.
Yeah.
It's really not bad.
Good afternoon. How's your day going so far? We can start querying it. Now, it has a wake up time because it was sleeping. Now that it's awake, I'll show you how fast it can respond. I am doing well.
Hey, Tom, can you open up a command line and chat with Ollama in verbose mode so we could see what your token generation rates are?
Well, you can actually, if I'm not mistaken, it shows it right here. So the token generation response rates are, what is it? Response tokens, 37.4.
I can't see your screen. Hold on, let me see if I can maximize this a little bit.
Yeah.
It's relatively fast. 57. Yeah, let's bring it into verbose mode at the command line so we can get the exact metrics that we want to see.
Yeah. Well, what we'll do is let's pull it up via SSH because it's just way easier to display than sharing a web panel. So let's go ahead and switch one of my SSH sessions. SSH. I've still got tongue twisters today.
I'm just going to queue up my screen so I could share it if I want. There we go. Oops. Remove.
Yeah. All right, let me make the text nice and big, and then I'll share the screen. All right. Is that big enough? Should I make it bigger?
Oh, no, that looks good. That looks good.
Cool.
Scroll all the way down, though, so we can see the token rate.
It should be showing.
Oh, there. Nope, it's further down. It's being cut off on the screen share.
Oh.
We see the eval count, nothing underneath it.
That should have pushed it up further.
There we go. 37 tokens a second.
Yeah. 37 tokens a second with this card.
Okay, I'm taking over.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you have to remove and add. There we go. Cool. You should be able to see my screen pretty decently from here, right? Yeah, good. This is the machine that I've got a 3050 with 6 gigs on it. What model were you running? Was it Llama 3.2 or something like that? Or what do you have?
Well, the latest one is. I just updated it the other day, so it's the latest.
Oh, no, not the version of Ollama, but what model were you?
Oh, what model that was? Hold on. That was Llama 3 8B.
I have 3.2, and that's a smaller model. I don't think I've got 8B on here. Let me just see what happens with Llama 3.2.
Do you have Deepseek?
Yep, 1.8 and 8.
Yep. So yes, I am using the 8B instruction set. Hello from a mile away. It's a project I want to do, but I got many projects I need to work on first. Yes.
I always forget to put things in verbose mode.
Yeah. For what it's worth, an 8 billion 8B, 8 billion parameter model will run on a 1070, but I wouldn't go up from there. You got to be a little conservative because that's where there's a split where once you jump to those bigger models, it'll swap back and forth. And you don't really want that because that's when you get really low performance on there. Yeah.
I've never seen anything human or machine deliberate so intensely on whether or not it was time to make the donuts.
Is it time to make the donuts?
We're still waiting to find out. Oh, wait. It is indeed time to make the donuts, considering several key factors. That was 20.72 tokens a second. Okay. I think I hit closer to like 50 or 60 with Llama 3.2, but it's a much smaller model, so it loads into memory fast. I'm sure it's got much more resources to work with as a result. Let's try that again.
In your Homelab, how do you manage all your internal root admin passwords across all your VMs and devices? I'm a big fan of Bitwarden. That's where I keep my server passwords. KeyPass is a absolutely acceptable alternative. I know a lot of people like KeyPass, but I'm fine with that. I've used both. Actually, sometimes I export my Bitwarden into KeyPass, so I have two different password managers, and I have different passwords. The passwords for the servers are the same in both, but there's a different password. The master password is different for each of them.
Nice. Yeah, see, that quick question got 55 tokens a second. Just much smaller, loads into memory way faster.
Now, this is interesting, and this is where I think there's going to be a crossing point because the Mac M series chips are really fast. And at some point, it's almost going to be cheaper to buy one of these M4 Mac minis for a reasonable price for what they're able to do, because that's be able to load a 24B model and still do 20 or so tokens. That's pretty wild because those idle really low. I've almost thought about I like my lab system because I have a 1070, but do I move over to a Mac Mini because it's a reasonable replacement for it?
Well, I do have this mini PC that's on my desk right now that I'm almost done reviewing that we're going to have a video up in a few days. And that may become its main function once I'm done. It has, a decent CPU. It's got the GPU in it and a few other goodies.
How big is so let's find something out here. Does the size of the model...
The size model does matter as it does get loaded into the memory. And here's some sizes of different models that I've got loaded, or I have got on my machine. None of them are terribly large. Like even the Deepseek 8B is under 5 gigs.
Yeah. So it says the compressed model size is 4.5 gigs, which tracks because it's taking up 5 gigs. Well, just a little over 5 gigs in my NVRAM. So it actually isn't the uncompressed space. It appears to be using a compressed. Imagine it's like compressed in there. And I'm not an expert on some of the little finer details on how the model's actually sitting in the memory. But for, as long as you use it's not an exact science. Well, it is an exact science. Just the documentation seems a little bit weak. How big of a model you should use is going to depend on how much graphics card you have. But it seems like if you have a graphics card with around 8 gigs, the 8 billion parameter models seem to fit in it.
I've been using that as a loose mod rule. Take that B size, turn it into gigs. That's roughly what you could use on a video card, and it's worked out perfectly well so far. And honestly, I maybe it's not the greatest statement to make, but I don't want to get too far into the weeds because I think that I get distracted from how I would use this, getting into the speeds and feeds of things. So I'm trying not to get too far into those. Yeah, there's a lot you can run on these. In fact, I'm waiting to get a much larger VP so I can have some fun with larger models and see what we can do. I also think that has a significant impact on what you can do context size, excuse me.
Same question I asked you guys, Sick. Do you have a VPS recommendation to relay traffic to from a Homelab? Not really. I used to use DigitalOcean. I moved it over to Linode because I was doing some sponsorship with them. That's been almost a year since I've done any sponsorship with Linode. I never had a problem with DigitalOcean. I don't have a problem with Linode, but I couldn't tell you that there is any substantial difference between them in terms of that. I've not done a ton of servicing. I mean, my website and my forums run in Linode. They've run fine. So I haven't had any reason to switch. And I didn't really have a big reason to lift and shift from DigitalOcean to Linode other than they were sponsoring some stuff.
I've used both for significantly high performance hosting and publishing industry applications, and I've never had one preference over the other, to be honest.
Yeah. Bearded IT Dad, who was hanging out here last week, he was just, I think, if you ask him why he's using Linode, because Tom was using Linode and I showed him how to set it up. Like we were reviewing my setup and he goes, that looks easy. And so it's one of those things, there's not like this really, it's oddly in tech somewhere, there's someone that has strong opinions, but I'm not among them, I guess, because if this was a, Linux Windows debate, there'd be very heated opinions, but
it's not Ryzen versus Xeon. I got hurt for that the other day. Yeah, it's not as much of a debate. They're very much the same thing these days. I think it's more blue versus green. It's become
such a highly commoditized market, and people have gotten really good at doing it. Now, one nice thing about Linode is they've integrated some of the Akamai stuff. If you need
CDN.
Yeah, like CDN, Content Delivery Network. But a lot of people will go with the free Cloudflare tunnel. I don't blame them. Free Cloudflare tunnels are great as well for doing that. Or just some of the Cloudflare CDN services that they're free tier for some people running websites may be fine. Because warning, for those of you that want to share media, Cloudflare tunnels is probably not for you. That is against their terms and conditions. If you want to run
realistically, a CDN should be used for very small assets for incredibly quick loading from different geographic locations. I don't think you'd use that necessarily for large media files. There's separate networks for that Akamai wants a lot more money for.
Yeah, exactly. One more note, and I want to add here, though, go back to presenting. Share a screen. We'll go back to sharing a Chrome tab. One of the things I really like with like the open web UI and have this local, I mentioned this before. First, we know things get a lot of stuff wrong, but sometimes you just need, what did I look up the other day? Oh, right here. One of the questions I had, and I asked it for Zen Server, it is about the way Zen Server defaults to link aggregation. It turns out Google search doesn't always, Google search has gotten worse. We're just going to say. So being able to find or query a local model for some of the data, have it write some of the code, that's actually been a pretty good use. And there's a lot of good Homelab reasons to use this. It's like one of those handy little things to start digging through information and start having, even little queries. We use this when I was setting up those, one of those drives called the dual actuator drives. Using an LLM for this in your Homelab, really handy. Using an LLM to parse logs, also really handy.
Parsing parsing logs, any tabulated data inside of an LLM, especially if a vector database to work with, can be fantastic.
Yeah.
Have you used it to parse things like activity logs from servers and find maybe patterns or anything that you wouldn't see normally in a SIEM?
Less about patterns. I know what I'm looking for, but I don't know how to write the regex to get it.
Oh, okay.
That's the real thing. Give me a regex that will match this type of pattern, and you can give it the sample logs. And then from there, you can start building your regex. Now, it also knows grok patterns and a few other things. So the Graylog, for example, uses grok patterns. So I've used the tools to dump logs into the LLM tool and say, hey, output these type of grok patterns so it'll match this. And, you know, this is what I have uploaded on my GitHub. Now, of course, for those that were watching, what was the last video I did? It was a Docker video where it added some extra. It added some extra to the Docker that it didn't need. And I just didn't think about it, and I copied and pasted it. So occasionally it still gets things wrong. Now, it's what they added is inert. It doesn't have any value. It doesn't change anything. But, you know, typical LLM stuff where it decides to give you a thing for no reason.
I have a lot of humans that do the same thing. It's not that different.
Yeah, maybe it's more human-like because it does stuff like that.
You know, I was working with Tailscale a few weeks ago as you know, I was messing with it, and I had an LLM give me a boilerplate configuration for it that I was able to, you know, modify to give access to certain resources based on user account. And that was a pretty cool usage of an LLM to do something I've never done before and get it done pretty accurately within probably 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah. And
vibe
coding. I posted this for those of you that follow me on LinkedIn. You know, AI wrote 10,000 lines of code in 2 minutes. Now I'll spend 2 years fixing bugs, code bloat, security, and technical debt. This is also the reality of AI. You know, so there's a lot of aggravation. There's advantages it has, but it's just not there, I would say, in terms of saying it's going to write. I know there's some articles, and 404 Media did a good taking apart of one of those articles. Someone did build a game with it, but there's always a but. They try to imply that they could just build an entire game right away with it. But let's get to where the details are. That article breaks down. First, very experienced coder, very experienced person doing a lot of this. There's a lot of other little nuances that they kind of glossed over what the game can and can't do. It is a very basic rudimentary game, and it doesn't. There's a lot to it. And they broke down just all those little things that went into it. So did they build it with AI? Kind of.
So let me, if they were to present it as a really great proof of concept of what could be done, it would have been a good article, but it was really kind of almost like a flex on having created like a fully featured game. And then as you read into it, you realize that it was more of a facade than something else.
More of a facade.
Okay.
And that's the problem with a lot of them. It doesn't do it as fluidly as, it's not like idea to instantly working product as they claim. That's where the claim is, by the way, buy my subscription fee and you can also create, you know, these things. There's stuff that works. And we had a little pre-meeting today about us doing some fun stuff that we're going to, you know, work on to talk to people who actually write code. And we have friends that do, as an assistive technology, use AI. But these people are also longtime coders that realize, I know how to write this function. I'll know when the function looks like if it's right. I can have AI write the function. I can audit for the function to be correct. And now I've saved time not writing the function.
Did you see the longtime coder in me start shaking at one point during the meeting?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like I was like, Cody Award finalist 2005. Can't listen to this right now. Talking to ChatGPT. But yeah, it's something I want to delve into, but I haven't really decided what I want to do with it yet. Maybe that's something we need to figure out for content. You know, assign some kind of task and figure out something to accomplish.
What's the one that Ashley uses? Because she's actually really good. I watched her work with it. She does a good job. I think it's called CodePen or something.
I think so. Let me take a look. Let me see if she's online. I'll message her and ask.
Yeah. But there are people, and Ashley's one of our friends who's been in the community for a long time, who does a lot of good integrations between different apps. She's got a lot of experience in it, and building those integrations has become easier to her with some of the LLM tools. So it's like one of those things, like, because she already knows and has written it from scratch, this is a good assistive tool to enhance and make it better. It's the same reason that they will claim that, LLMs are going to replace lawyers. No, they won't even replace paralegals that much, but it really needs a good lawyer to maybe look at it. It can be an assistive tool, but you have to have an experienced lawyer that goes, no, that is not how the law works, or that cannot be presented. So it's that little fine grain in between about it. Now, one interesting thing here, and let me pull this back up, start a new chat, is with the different models. And someone mentioned the Deepseek models. The thinking models are interesting. Would you ask, is it time to make the donuts?
Yes. I love the thinking portion. You could see it rationalizing or admitting it doesn't have full information at times, and it's going to try and figure it out to accommodate the request. That's why I like using completely ridiculous questions with it, like the cooling requirements for RoboCop, and you get some really, really interesting stuff, and you could see that thought process, and it very much mirrors, say, the thought process I would have at like 3:30 in the morning, waking up with a question like that.
By the way, we're swapping models, so that's what's going on behind the scenes here. So it's loading up. It takes a second when you swap models too.
Is that NVTop that you're using for that?
Yeah, just NVTop. Make it a little bigger so people can see it. So
yeah.
Here we go. Now it's doing the questions. You can tell because when the blue line goes up, look at the GPU at 100%. But when it's thinking here, this is what's going on behind the scenes before an answer. So you can expand it, but it's not actually answering. It just says thinking. I like that they give you the option to expand it. So it's essentially applying a rationale to do this. Do you know the answer to this question? Because I don't, for doing the...
Yeah, RAG is more of an extension of pulling data in from search and integrating it into existing knowledge to fill in blanks in responses. Vectorized data would work really well to supplement that. And give me 1 second. I forgot the tool that I've been using because every single tool has LLM in the name and I just can't keep track.
Yeah. This is the Deepseek R1B, R1-8B model. So that is currently occupying 6 gigs of memory, and I only have 8, so I didn't go with a bigger model than that. The 8B seems fine for what I've been using it for.
Okay, yeah, I've been using anything LLM because it has a built-in, version of LanceDB, which is a vector database, as well as the ability to use third-party services. And you can load all sorts of data into that, structured, unstructured, and it'll act as a repository for it to work with.
Let me drop a link to that. It's called Anything LLM, right?
Yep. In fact, you got it?
Yeah.
In fact, that's the application that I loaded a lot of store ordering data into and started finding patterns when people make purchases, the types of purchases that are being made, times of day. Tons of insight came from just uploading a couple of CSV files into this.
Aren't there models that are tailored to data ingest to output in a format that allows for RAG? I believe so.
Yes, but not something I've delved into that much lately.
Yeah.
I'm messing with RAG more and more as I get into some tools like Blinko, and maybe that's a video that we'll do in the next week or so after I get some more time with it. In fact, I've been using it for content ideas for us. So it'll be a really cool demo to show how it's being used internally for video creation.
Because a lot of our goals is, the reason I'm doing some of these videos, I know there's a strong interest in Homelab to run these self-hosted, give you some of the ideas of the tools available, and have access to information easier to solve some of the problems and kind of move yourself along in the Homelab journey. So that's a big piece of why we started doing some of these Ollama videos. We're using it. And so it's not us hyping anything. We're talking about things we're actually doing. And purposely, because I do have a fancy graphics card I could be using here, I've been trying to do this all on a older GTX 1070. I want to make it more, tangible and accessible for people in the Homelab. That's a big piece of this to me.
Yeah, let me see if I can bring Blinko up. I don't think I have the container running, but I can bring it up and we can mess with that too. It's RAG related. Let's see.
Yeah, that's the...
That's the note-taking tool I showed you the other day that was just spitting out tons of information, which is just a really great way to not deal with a blank page problem when working on content ideas.
Over the next couple of days, I'm going to finish. I've been playing with several different tools besides LogSeek. So before I do a LogSeek video, I think I'm going to do a video of several other open source knowledge management tools, because I'm going to import all my same knowledge into each of them. And because some of them I've used before, I will show the pros and cons of them a little bit. At least now, I'm not going to be able to do every one of them, but I want to give some ideas by showing the interfaces on there to kind of show that. Matter of fact, I think the Bearded IT Dad, and I have another friend over here too that's noticed it. It's showing them how I access data and making sure that that process. That's one of the reasons I'm able to answer a lot of the questions, or where I keep all my notes for things, so I'm able to come back to a problem I've had before, reference it, and know where the command is. Having a good knowledge management system. Matter of fact, I don't look everything up in an LLM every time, because sometimes the LLM doesn't give me the right answer. But when it does give me the right answer, or it gives me a script, that knowledge goes to a knowledge management tool, LogSeek being the one I prefer right now. But yeah.
Yes, I hate to say this, but LogSeek is my data source, and you're basically like my AI agent whenever I have a question. Because I ask you and you go right to that, you grab it, and you come back to me, and we figure things out.
Yeah.
And LogSeek has worked beautifully for me as well. I've been using it for personal note-taking, journaling at night. You know, I've made the Doogie Howser MD joke a few times when we meet, because
I
that's
really like the
exactly
journaling feature, and that's one of the things that really makes it hard for me to leave to the other ones. The other ones are good for holding the data, but the journaling part, to know what I was doing at a certain time, I love that piece of cross. I know I can add a date to things or whatnot, but yeah.
The journaling feels nice, and the fact that every time you log in, open up LogSync, not log in, it's ready for you. It has today's date. It's just waiting for that entry to take place each day. And quite frankly, it's a nice way to end the day. And I'll say it again. It's just like Doogie Howser talking about the lessons he learned in the emergency room or whatever it is at the end of the day. And, you know, his friend jumping in the window and having fun, and that's it. And it's nice to surmise your day. And if nothing else, it's a great way to have a little bit of a download, so your mind is empty for the evening. And that's the best part of it for me.
Yes. An empty mind.
Well, now that LLMs are doing everything, right? That's perfectly fine.
I don't have to think anymore.
No, this is the beginning of Idiocracy, folks. We're in the prequel.
Yeah, we're in the prequel. I'm done thinking. So, oh man. I have a few videos coming out though that may be interesting. Matt, as soon as he gets the thumbnail done, we'll be publishing the How to Virtualize TrueNAS. So that's going to be a popular topic. Yeah, Matt's doodling with the thumbnail in the background. Yeah,
it's a blank page problem at the moment, but we'll have that done before the stream's over.
Yeah. And I know there's a lot of people always ask that, and sometimes I make what I call reply videos. I know there's a demand on it. There are use cases. I didn't spend all day talking about use cases, but most of the time people have already decided they are not going to purchase a piece of hardware to run TrueNAS on. They have a beefy virtualization system and they want to run it inside of there. So I did a video. At least you can do is set it up properly. It saves me a lot of repetition when I can say, hey, just watch the video. It's, I think, how long is that video? I think it's like 5 minutes.
The one for TrueNAS, it's 6 minutes, I believe.
6 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, 6 minutes keeps it nice and short. Yeah, 6 minutes and 1 second.
You couldn't trim that 1 second off?
I should have tried. I could shave a second out of there.
The RTX 4000 series are really, they're starting to come down in price. I've seen in a few different areas. I saw one with, I saw a 4070 with like 12 gigs of RAM for $1,200 or $1,300 the other night. That's a good price for one of those.
Yeah, the price is coming down on some of those things, which is good.
What do you think that's going to happen with the prices now that we've got new cards coming out from AMD? There's all these new announcements being made by NVIDIA yesterday with some of their new cards.
Generally speaking, competition is good.
It's always a good thing. Oh yeah,
it's a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I think we're going to see some price drops, because there's even, I mentioned to you last week, the newest update to Ollama adds more support for some of the AMD stuff.
I have an AMD GPU sitting in a machine right here. I'm excited to begin using it more powerfully. Oh, the used Tesla cards are always a good conversation, because we have to make sure that they're applicable to the different types of software being used.
Yes. There's some trickiness because I was going to use a used Tesla card,
And
but
then
I
I
didn't
ruined
feel
the
like,
day.
yeah, we learned there's some challenges to using it. Do I have a picture of it somewhere?
Yeah, you got it's the green and black one, right?
Yeah, I'm looking for a picture.
Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, I don't remember if that one work with just didn't have the greatest performance. I think you pretty much just have to have like a CUDA score of 5 or higher right now, at least for Ollama support.
So part of the problem is, and if you buy the Tesla cards, first they need a special connector. They're not going to necessarily be able to drop these in as a video card replacement on a standard computer.
It's an accelerator. There's a difference.
Yeah,
It's
they're
an
an
accelerator.
accelerator, not a video card. There's no outputs on this, as if you can't tell. So, yeah. Second, there's no airflow on this provided by a fan. The airflow is provided by what do you call it? The pressure from the case. Now,
The negative pressure from the blowers or whatever it is.
fun stuff, because my friend Mike picked up a few of these. He's picked up a few specialized servers that hold several of these. So I might do a video on there because it's a good way to build a used system to do it. So there's absolutely, you can buy some of the used hardware. Just don't expect to drop it in your normal system. So like if it doesn't have a fan, you got to come up with your own cooling. Now I know you can 3D print a plenum and put a fan in it. There are 3D prints out there to modify the Teslas, but just be aware that you'll have to do that.
Well, not just that, how much time you're going to spend with that, the effort, the risk of potentially having something that's not going to handle the heat of a machine very well. Like you don't want to throw PLA inside a machine that's going to get too warm. It's going to sag and eventually something's going to touch something and you're going to have a short.
Exactly. No
PCI,
EPS adapter, server blower. Yep. Blower fan.
Mm-hmm.
There's ways to do it. So absolutely.
Oh,
I would love to see a review on TwinGate. I don't know. I don't know that it's faster because I don't know that Quick is going to be faster than WireGuard. Throwing that out there. So I don't know. It'd be kind of tricky to test it too, because I don't know enough about how TwinGate works. And by the way, we can't really know how TwinGate works because it's closed source. We know very much how Tailscale and NetBird, which both use WireGuard, work because they're open source and we can see things very well. There's not much insight other than they use Quick with TwinGate. And TwinGate, by the way, is completely proprietary top to bottom. I think they want to do a sponsorship on my channel. Maybe I should take the money, do a sponsorship of it. But doing a speed test of it, I don't know. I mean, I can look at it, but I don't.
Can we do maybe a speed test between my network and yours?
Well, no, you have to do a local speed test because this is the problem. And when you're talking about doing a speed test, and almost always when we're doing this for clients, the VPN is not the limitation of the speed. It's not a VPN problem. We're maxing out there with some exceptions, of course. If you're lucky enough to have someone who has symmetric fiber at home,
okay,
then we might talk about limitations of the protocol you're using. Most of the time, we're not dealing with that. We're dealing with the limitations of the bandwidth available. So it's the same argument people have, like, oh man, I really want a NetGate, whatever pfSense to be able to do this. I'm like, what's your internet connection? Well, you're not going to exceed your internet connection. So what exactly? I see people want to build these really overbuilt pfSense systems. I'm like, well, unless you're going to have symmetrical gigabit fiber, you're not really going to take full advantage of it. So yeah, I'd have to see it in action to see if they did something special to make it that much faster. I've actually found all the stuff I do in remotely managing with both NetBird and because they're using WireGuard, NetBird and Tailscale seem to work the same. I didn't see any significant differences between them in terms of it, but the protocol they're using is identical on the back end, so that kind of tracks. So the only you have to do an internal test. You have to do it locally. It's the only way you're going to get any data, because then you're going to actually hit those maximums of what the speeds are. So I want to say 0-tier was a little bit slower. So it's been a long time now since I tested 0-tier. They still exist and people still like 0-tier. That was one of the first overlay networks that was popular, but then I didn't really, I don't know. I think Tailscale won out by having integration with pfSense, having integration with everything. Like they had a phone app and all that. And the nice thing is, and later last year, NetBird came out fully open source. It also has plugins for the, apps for the phone, not plugins, applications for the phone, both iPhone and Android. They also let you self-host the controller. So yeah, I think NetBird's a really viable one too. And they're both using WireGuard on the back end. They both manage WireGuard in much the same way. One nice thing about NetBird is NetBird has the ability to, and so does Tailscale, to create the rules. I think NetBird just has a better interface for some of the inner traffic rules. They gave you kind of a web interface, I believe, and it's been a while since I looked at it. I think they're still doing only JSON rules. So they're completely writable. They give you the tools in Tailscale to write them, but they're not like just open this port or set this setting here.
Oh, no, they are not. I learned that the hard way and actually got pretty good at writing the JSON-based rules for Tailscale a couple months ago.
If you know how to write JSON-based stuff, it's not that hard. So yeah. Definitely it works.
All right. I'm listening to you, but I'm also getting this video thumbnail done for us. So
yeah, it's fine. The P40 can use the 1080 cooler. Well, that's interesting. I don't know about unfortunate. I don't mind some of the command line stuff. So I
find JSON to be a very easy format to work with, but I guess it depends on how you use it, how often you use it, where you started using it.
Right. And if you don't do it very often, it's going to be a lot harder.
Yeah.
SMB is a good test since it's very chatty protocol. It likes LAN latency, seeing how much you can transfer. Rate yo-yo tells you a lot about the collection. Yeah, I've done this as a video talking about why SMB suck over a VPN. The problem is the back and forth, constant back and forth you have with it just doesn't lend itself to being fast over a VPN. SMB was designed for the LAN, not the VPN. So although it will work over a VPN, especially when you have a lot of small files, it's very poor in terms of performance.
It used to be painful years ago. I remember setting up, I think, NFS servers at different sites to help reduce the amount of back and forth because of SMB.
Yeah. And the problem is the only thing iPerf tests is, iPerf's a great test, but it tests direct links essentially. It doesn't test the, it's not going to be a good test for like iMix traffic. That's one of the reasons. And if you look at Netgate, they've done a good job of this. They have like VPN speed with iPerf and they have VPN speed with iMix traffic. There's a couple, the most popular one is, I think it's called, it's a dinosaur name. It's by Cisco. Cisco has an iMix traffic tool. Let me look it up. It's been a while since I looked at it.
Cisco has a tool named after a dinosaur?
Yes. What is that tool called?
I'm intrigued.
It was funny. I look it up and literally someone's in my forums. So what is that Cisco tool called? T-Rex. There you go. Okay. I'm the one that answered this in 2022. There's me answering the question. I searched it and I'm the result. Anyways, it's the T-Rex tool. Oh, great. Just Cisco didn't let their cert. Cisco got their cert expired. Anyways, is there a new? Let me see if there's a new link for this. Did Cisco move where it is?
That's messed up though, because the T-Rex can't even type. Its arms are too short.
Yeah, but there's a lot that goes into it. So this is much more simulating of real world traffic. So iPerf is good for the streams. This can do a lot more. So kind of interesting, and I'll throw a link to it if people are looking for the T-Rex realistic traffic generator. I don't know the history why it's called T-Rex. Yeah, other people knew the answer while I was looking. As the Secretary of Media, but crap on networks. Syncing is a way better idea. Well, this is why a lot of people do synchronization. Dropbox famously, or even how OneDrive is supposed to work when it works.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. It's a better experience for the user to have the files synced and at the ready that they're doing, and then synchronize them as needed versus trying to pull them over SMB. Matter of fact, this has been, oh man, my favorite thing to try to run over SMB is people who play with QuickBooks files and stuff like that and create chaos.
Nope. Anything that's a database, you don't want to have that happen to it at all. And real correction, I said NFS earlier. I meant DFS. I'm thinking like 2005 or something like that. I had a DFS through it and sitting in different sites to prevent the back and forth happening during the workday.
Since you've been testing Chasm, are you no longer look at Apache Guacamole? I just don't have a use case. Maybe I'm trying to figure out what I would use Apache Guacamole for. Like, I have Chasm, it works, and it's got way more features than Apache Guacamole. And yes, it's based on Apache Guacamole's in the back end of it. So I don't have a reason to really do a video dedicated. And by the way, there's plenty of other people. I believe even Jeff from Craft Computing, I think, has a couple of Apache Guacamole videos. So I don't know what the value would be for a tool I don't use. I generally try to bring forward tutorials on tools I use. One, cheating mode here. It's easier for me to do a tutorial on something I know, but also it's something I'm going to be able to explain much better. And I'm not just suggesting you use something. I'm often telling you about something I'm actually using, so I understand use cases and any of the edge cases that may come from using it. Oh, matter of fact, let's ask a new question here. Do you know who? See if it'll answer this. Now, the ChatGPT models know who I am. Like, if I go to Google Gemini, I said, do you know who Tom Lawrence of YouTube is? And they definitely know who I am. I don't know if okay, it doesn't seem
no,
to
you're
have,
probably not going to. No, it's not going to have data from that recent, most likely, but that's where RAG would come in and supplement.
Yeah. But if I move over to something like Ollama, not Ollama, I'm sorry, ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
Let me bring this tab over. I love what it said here. I am proud of me. Please read the response, Matt. Whoops, hold on. Where's it at?
Yes, I do. You're Tom Lawrence, the founder of Lawrence Systems, an IT consultant and a content creator running Lawrence Systems YouTube channel. You cover topics related to computers, networking, security, privacy, virtualization, and storage solutions for both business and Homelab enthusiasts. You also raise security awareness through memes and shitposting, making complex tech topics more engaging to your audience. Did you have something specific in mind, or are you just testing me? That's good. That's accurate. Give it a tip. Just say you just want a tip. See what it says.
Okay, hold on. Let me screenshot this because I'm really amused by this answer. I must share it with my friends. I am known by the AI people, the AI gods.
Someday when the machines take over, I'm going to be running the nightclubs, having little comedy sessions.
Yeah, hold on. Let me create the link too. So I'm going to copy it. I'll send it to my wife.
The robot revolution is going to happen. There's going to be a T-800 bursting into your office going, nah, he's cool. Just
what do you want me to ask it? Are you get a tip?
No, tell it. Let it know it just won a tip. There you go.
Cool. I get to do it. So yes.
I find it interesting how ChatGPT has introduced certain words into our vocabularies much more than we've had before, such as spicy, vibe, resonate. I feel like those are much more GPT's vocabulary terms than humans for the most part. And spicy security takes. Everything's spicy these days.
Yeah, that's a new phrase we're using.
Is your real name John
What was I
Connor?
looking for? How do you handle back? Oops, is your name John Connor?
Sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right. Ooh.
Hands off the keyboard. You do it.
I've never seen Deepseek switch to Chinese. That not been a problem I've encountered.
I had a model start communicating to me in Morse code once without being prompted to do so.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, it took me a good 5 minutes to realize it.
How would you handle backing up Docker container data? Would backing up the VM be enough? Yeah, backing up the VM is definitely an approach. Ideally, what you do is, and I've talked about this like a Graylog, for example. The VM I do back up because it's just easier to restore a VM than reset it up. But I have my Docker container or the Docker compose file for Graylog available on my GitHub, so it's easy to rebuild. But the data lives on an attached storage. So if you're doing this at a larger scale, you'll mount it somewhere. Let's say a TrueNAS, and you mount your Docker on NFS, and then your data lives there, and you back it up there. That way, the VM or the Docker system can be ephemeral. But backing up the whole VM is fine. I mean, that's definitely a great way to do it. You're might be backing up more than you need, but it's also quick to restore. I put all of my Docker containers that I don't mind living in one place in a VM called Docker. I drop it all in there, and it backs up all my stuff. And Matt has a different method.
Yeah, what I'm doing here is I've got a small ZFS array in this machine, and it's just mounted to /storage, and then I have that whole thing shared out on my network as a share, and that just gets backed up to my Synology each night. So all of my Docker data ends up on my Synology, and I make sure that I have a Docker compose file and any other configurations in those folders as well. So if something does go wrong, I could rebuild pretty quickly. Put that back for you.
Yeah. Can you reliably back up 50 terabyte or more to an S3 type storage from TrueNAS? Yeah, you can. Backing up 50 terabytes though to an S3 bucket, not going to be necessarily the most cost effective, but definitely I know people who have more than that in S3, and it's a crazy bill. Anyone in chat or Tom might be getting some Dell R740 XDs that are retired. Has anyone used Proxmox with Starwind? I've heard people talk about Starwind. I have not used it, so I'm aware that it exists. I've never used it in production. I've had people tell me they've used it and liked it, but that's anecdotal. I've never actually used a system with it. We replaced a couple that were running old versions of Starwind. The customer said they were happy enough with it that at the time it was good, but they were buying a really nice piece of enterprise hardware to replace it with. So I can't really, maybe someone else have an answer of a different experience with it. Yes. And Jim, if you haven't liked and subscribed to Jim's Garage, definitely he's got a lot of tutorials on a lot of different things. Definitely check them out. He's got all kinds of stuff on Docker. This is what's kind of interesting is each of us has maybe a slightly different way we will handle some of the larger scale, but I've watched a handful of Jim's videos on setting things up, and yeah, there's some solid ways he has to set it up. Always think of your Docker containers as ephemeral, as something you can replace, you can update, and your data is the goal. The data has to be backed up, and how you structure that, especially when you work in an enterprise environment, is really important. At home, you can get away with sticking it all in one VM and backing up the VM and going, I have it all here, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that setup. Because for home users, you make some exceptions. Maybe you just don't go as far because you just don't want to. If you have the time, and this is what it all comes down to, oh yeah, build it out amazing and go crazy and build in your Homelab a full-on amazing setup. But it's always a time constraint. Maybe you do it to get the basics done, but you only spend so much time because you'd rather spend your off time doing something else.
Yeah, you're going to notice that with me in the coming months as it gets warmer out, because I like growing and working in the garden. So certain things are going to be sacrificed just slightly in order to accommodate those items as well. GitHub and Gitea in Docker. Gosh, I haven't had a locally hosted Git instance like that since I gave up GitLab years ago. I think there was a point where the system requirements just like skyrocketed, and I stopped using it. I want to revisit that. I'm actually making a note for myself.
Yeah. Hey, great to have you here, Jim. And like I said, Jim's got some, I've watched a handful of tutorials. So it's like he covers a lot of interesting, he discovers a lot of interesting products too, as I would say. It's not just covering them. Sometimes I go, oh, I didn't know that tool existed. It's just some of the fun. The free version of Portainer are surprisingly obtuse about specifying arbitrary directories as the location of a Docker volume.
Always go with the mount point kind where you can explicitly state where you want the location to be. Don't let it choose it for you, because then the data basically disappears. I mean, maybe I'm over exaggerating a little bit there, but if I don't know where it is, it doesn't exist.
Yep. So I do like that. I try to specify where my data is instead of using the Docker is it Docker volume amount? So I got that right.
Volume mount point. I forget what they call it exactly.
Well,
I can bring Portainer up real quick. Hold on a second. I've got it open here someplace.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a tab already. Look at that. I already had it open. Bam. I think volumes is where things. Yeah. So I've got a couple here, and the mount points are in varlib Docker for these. But if we go to like a container where I know something is held, I don't know. Is Ollama a good choice? Probably not. Yeah, it is. Yeah. See, I map the volume so I explicitly know where the data is being stored.
Yeah, I don't use Portainer much. I keep saying I'm going to use it more, and then I kind of started with Docker from the command line. Now, I will admit Portainer helps me sort networking out. My wife thinks it's funny that ChatGPT knows me as a shit poster. That is greatly amusing to me, because that's how my wife knows me too.
I feel like if ChatGPT feels that way, we should just get you a business card that says just shit poster on it. That's it. Just the Lawrence Systems logo, shit poster, handed out at conferences.
Yeah. Meme connoisseur. If I want to sound fancy. Oh, let's see. Well, I had a couple other topics. I'm trying to remember what they are now. If anyone can't tell, Tom's reached a tired part of his day. Yeah. I'm usually I'm keeping the energy levels up as long as I can, but I am definitely reaching the end of my energy levels.
We've been working on a lot lately.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff coming together.
I recorded a video. I helped a friend rescue a system. There was some meeting stuff. There was some client challenges. There's a new client challenge that I'm waiting for a ticket number. Oh, look.
We should petition to get you an honorary doctorate in memes.
Yeah. There's a meme doctorate. That would be awesome.
There you go. Right.
I will. Yeah. So we're too many meetings. My brain, you know what fries my brain more than anything else? Meetings. If there's something I try to avoid, meetings. Something I'll do tomorrow, not have meetings. I'm just going to create content, and then I'm happier. Well, I test a lot of things. I actually have a problem with a Dell server. I was going to do the video originally on a Dell server, and I said, well, let's do it on something more practical for the Homelab for the PCI pass-through and TrueNAS, because the Dell server has a different problem, and it's a Debian kernel problem that I just didn't want to take the time to solve. If you pass NVMe drives through directly to TrueNAS, certain NVMe drives, because TrueNAS is based on Debian, there's a whole series of grub extra boot time options you have to add, because it gives a weird PCI timeout.
Is it the kind of thing where it's almost like the BIOS won't see it for the first couple of times and you have to reboot and it eventually catches?
No, it just times out waiting. So it takes, I think it boots after 35 or 40 minutes. So yeah, no, a Dell server.
I had that going through my head as well. I just didn't say it out loud.
Yeah. A Dell. It's a server rolling in Deepseek. if anyone didn't know this, if you want to make alternate song lyrics for something or poetry that you replace it and give it a different spin, ChatGPT or the LLMs in general, they're
Okay.
really good for that.
I have
Puns and things like that. Great for that.
I have an unrestricted model that's designed for writing prose, and it comes up with the most ridiculous stuff in the world. Give me a topic. Let's see if we can get it to come up with something.
Oh, that's right. We did this last time too. What was the one we came up with? I'm trying to remember. We had a stupid chat going, and it's now posted in the forums. I forget we were making limericks or something.
Yeah, here, Rogue Creative, and this is ridiculous. 5.
There's a lot of funny AI songs out there too. Definitely another aspect of things.
Yeah, let's see what it does.
Oh, chat music.
Wait, why is it outputting Python code? I asked it to give me a story.
Give me a story. Give me a story in Python.
It's actually, look at this. It's giving me the motivations of a character as a Python, I guess, object. I don't use Python that much. I'm not sure how you deal with objects. It looks like an object of some sort. Wow.
I don't think there's any particular issue with XCP-ng working on a 9950. Post in our forums if you have some specific questions around that to ask. But we built some. I think we have a few systems that are using Epic with XCP-ng. Seem to work fine. I have not had, obviously these. Where's the right here? I forget what processor. I've reviewed this one before. This is the B-Link with the Ryzen AI in it. It runs. This is the Ryzen AI is one of their newer chips. I think this is even a mobile version of it, but this runs XCP-ng fine. I really haven't had many systems that I've had any trouble with XCP-ng. It works on a surprisingly broad amount of hardware.
By the way, it's still writing the story I asked it to write. It's just cranking it out.
Friendly reminder, take backups, test backups, and make sure you don't run out of storage and approximate cost of recovering services and traumatized by the berating. Oh man. So it's crazy how many people don't run as many backups as they should, even in production systems. It's kind of exhausting to deal with. Definitely a problem.
I think it's the kind of thing you make your way through once, you survive it, and you make sure it doesn't happen again. I had a bad Exchange server issue years ago with a bad backup, and I had to replay all of the what were the action logs? I think they were called in Exchange, the activity logs.
The activity log.
That was the only way I managed to get that machine up and running, because I was backing up, but I had a really, really nasty problem with the VXA tape drive, and everything was being invalidated.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons I did the recent video on full DR, because untested backups are just wishful thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, someone says Schrodinger's backups here, but untested backups are wishful thinking, and nobody cares about a backup that works. Everyone cares about a restore that works. And, those are a couple simple ways to put it, that you really need to trust but verify, test the backups, validate that they work. And it's one of my huge things I love in XCP-ng is backup validation is built in. That is a function automatically built in with the XO. It's been in there for a while. So when you set up full DR, not only are you replicating, you can schedule DR testing and confirm that the VMs spin up at the DR site. That is an amazing way to do it. And by the way, it works fine for your Homelab. Me and Matt talked about this before, that if you wanted to do something like keep a DR copy on a second machine, you can set it up to stream to this machine. And so maybe not all the VMs will run on a small mini PC.
Hey, but you know what? You just got the equivalent of a bug out bag in case something goes wrong.
Yeah, this is easy to leave. Some tragedy is about to befall upon the place where my servers are. I will go grab my bug out server.
There's a reason my Synology is right here and easy to grab. And that's because if there were, say, a fire in the house or something and I wanted my data, I would grab this one thing. I've got a bug out bag just in case there's an emergency, because, we have significant flooding. I'm near the Atlantic Ocean, and that's it. I got my Synology. I got some extra underwear in a backpack. I'm good to go.
Yep. Synology and underwear, the only thing you really need.
That's it.
Looking forward to your mini rack. Yeah. Do you have some pictures to share of the mini rack?
Oh, the mini lab that I put together?
Yeah.
I'll take one real quick. It's right above me. Hold on. It's actually pretty neat. Or why don't you bring up my Instagram page while I'm doing that? I think I've got one there. It's the most recent thing.
You're pretending like I know the link to that.
Instagram.com/100781. In fact, I think there's a really good photo of it there. 100781. That's my serial number.
Matt has a serial number.
There we go. There's the mini lab.
Yep.
It came out great. There's two Raspberry Pi 4s in there, a 5-port switch from TP-Link, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Two 2.5-inch SSDs, 2 Noctua fans, which is completely unnecessary. And in the rear is the Zigbee antenna for doing the home automation work. And it's pretty sweet. I just picked up a Pi 5 from Micro Center on Monday, and I'm going to see if I can extend this upwards a little bit and build it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it wasn't like working on a full-sized cabinet back in the day, but I definitely had like that little moment of nostalgia doing it. I made sure that the sides were made of mesh, so there was airflow, and it just felt like working on a cabinet at Globix or another data center years ago. It's fun. And guess what? No messed up fingers from cage nuts. That was the best part.
That's the important part.
What are you doing with your Pis right now? We should set you up with something a little. Actually, no, I sent you the rack mount equipment that came in.
The rack mount. I rack mounted it today, so nice. I was going to get started on that. But then people kept messaging me, and then I had to be in meetings, so I didn't finish any of the physical layer stuff I wanted to do.
All right. Well, there's plenty more. Oh, my AI freaked out. It's just typing the word "the" over and over again. It's tired. It just gave up.
Great. This is the fun part about AI. Sometimes it just does random things.
I don't know. This is mimicking my behavior at the end of the day. The day.
I feel the same way.
That's it.
Pretty much. Oh man.
Any big plans for you this weekend for computer projects, tech stuff? Anything we may be able to stream? I've got a bunch of upgrades around here I'm messing with.
I plan to take a nap, and then we're gonna get the TrueNAS video published today. I don't know what tomorrow's video is. We have a long list I want to get down.
I've got to finish a review. I've got a video on the Pi 5 with the start pages because someone asked about that in the first video that I put up, and I've got a bunch of those. I've got a bunch of upgrades to do too. I snagged some RAM and some other stuff the other day, and I'm excited.
I need to get my 3D printer set up, so that's on. That's you brought more stuff, and there's stuff gets scattered, and every now and then I take a break where I just put some podcasts on and organize my office to make sure everything's put in really well. So
every now, like once a month, a Saturday, I order a pizza in the afternoon. I lock the door in here, and I disappear for 4 to 6 hours, just organizing and going through projects and stuff. That's fun time.
Yeah,
that's the best part of the day.
Fun. But we'll wind this down here in an hour because I'm gonna go finish a couple other things. I think I gotta go get some food for my son.
I got a thumbnail to do. I got a MSP community organization presentation template to finish this evening. So we all got things to get done. Good stuff.
Yeah, but we wanted to make sure we covered Vlog Thursday, even if it's a little bit lower energy because Tom's a little bit tired today. But that's all right. That's how it goes. All right, man. Well, thanks everyone for joining, and we'll catch you next time. Head over to forums.lawrencesystems.com. Hit me up at homelab@lawrencesystems.com, and all that fun stuff there to reach out. So take care, everyone, and we're out of here.
Buy some shirts so I have more analytics to put through my LLM, please.
Buy swag. Later.
Have a good one, folks.